Welcome to this week's edition of New York Now. I'm Dan Clark. New York this week passed a series of sweeping changes to the way that members of law enforcement do their jobs and how they interact with the public, notably communities of color. The package of bills was in response to the death of George Floyd in Minneapolis, but some have been in the works for years, and regardless of which side of the issue you're on, it was a historic moment for the legislature. Both the state Senate and the Assembly are currently led by black lawmakers at the same time for the first time ever. And for them, this is personal. Here's Senate Majority Leader Andrea Stewart-Cousins this week.
Make no mistake, we know that what we did is not a cure. We know it's a first step. It acknowledges that laws alone are important, but they can't fix racism in America. No, Senator Sanders is always reminding us of that. But as Senator Kavanaugh was just saying, it begins to root out injustice and to bring justice to our justice system. It is a step and it is a path to equality.
And this all comes as COVID-19 continues to decline in New York. With me now is Daryl Camp, a reporter with Talk 1300. Daryl, thanks for making your premiere appearance on New York Now this week.
No problem.
So let's talk about what the legislature did this week first. They passed a package of police reform bills, a package of 10 or 11 bills, if I'm not mistaken, police disciplinary records, banning chokeholds. Daryl, give me some of the highlights of what you noticed as covering these issues.
Well, the most significant highlight is clearly the fact that 50A, the repeal, is something the legislature has passed in both houses. And last week, the governor actually telegraphed the fact that, hey, any 50A bill they give me, I'm going to sign. So I think that set up the political will to get this done. But I think a sleeper could be the ban on racial profiling. That is something that most police departments would say they don't do already. So I wonder how that procedurally will change how they do things moving forward, whether or not that opens up the potential for maybe lawsuits in the future. So it's going to be interesting to see how that affects things in the future.
I think the one that got the most news out of everything is the one that you mentioned first, 50A, which they repealed that part of the law, which means that members of the public will now be able to file a Freedom of Information Law request for police disciplinary records. You have spoken to members of the legislature over the past couple of days about these issues. Do you get a sense of how it's being received around the state or even just in the capital region?
To me, it seems like the measures that are being passed right now are all sort of back-end / middle of the road measures when it comes to preventing police brutality. They're not really on the front end. It's how do you punish or hold people accountable on the back end. And I think some legislators, and it's a question I've asked a lot of them, is what do we do on the front end? And that'll probably be the next step in what'll likely be a series of changes as both houses are democratically controlled and there is a Democratic governor now.
We should mention the governor before I let you go. His team essentially declared mission accomplished on COVID-19 this week because New York City started phase 1 of reopening the economy. Daryl, you've been covering the daily briefings with me here at the Capitol almost every day that they've been happening. What's the future of this disease? What have we been told? It feels like this isn't quite over yet, but I want to get your perspective.
Well, it is technically not over, but there are two significant factors that have led to the legislature on the state, local, county levels, all pretty much saying, hey, we're done here. And that is the remarkably low death rate compared to a month or two ago. And the other thing is for the past 3 or 4 weeks since Memorial Day, we've been seeing large gatherings, mostly outdoors, but people by the hundreds or sometimes by the thousands gathering, and the rate of infection has not spiked. So I think those two factors have led to people going, okay, I think we're mostly safe here. Obviously, keep an eye on vulnerable populations, but aside from that, things are starting to open up and there has been no negative impact.
All right, Daryl Camp from Talk 1300, thanks so much for being here on New York Now this week. We appreciate it.
I appreciate you. Thank you, Dan.